Welcome to another video. This one is going to look at stock splits versus stock dividends. Okay, so we're talking about stock splits. That's pretty common, 2 for 1, excuse me, 2 for 1, 3 for 1. Stock dividend, also common, but a stock dividend is the same as a stock split. And it's very important that you realize this, that when we say stock dividend, we don't mean a dividend paid by a stock. We mean a stock dividend, not a cash dividend, which is typically just referred to as a dividend. So we're talking about stock dividends, which is not a dividend paid by a stock or a company, but rather a stock dividend is a dividend in stock shares. A dividend comprised by shares of stock, not by money. So again, a stock dividend is identical to a stock split. That's what I'm about to show you here. And a stock dividend is not a cash dividend, which is usually just referred to as a dividend. So a stock dividend is not a cash dividend. A stock dividend is not a dividend. It is a stock dividend. And every time I mean stock dividend, I will say stock dividend. All right, so let's just make some observations here. What stock split equals what stock dividend? Okay, so a 2 for 1 stock split here is the same as 100% stock dividend. For every share you used to have, you now have 2. So it's kind of like E minus B over B. Ending is 2 minus 1 over 1, so you get 1 over 1, which is 1 decimal or 100%. So a 2 for 1 stock split is like a 100% stock dividend. We're not surprised then that a 3 for 1 stock split is equal to a 200% stock dividend. You can see the arithmetic there. A 4 for 1 stock split is identical to a 300% stock dividend. 3 for 2 stock split, these are rather common. Ending minus beginning over beginning, 3 minus 2 over 2.5. So a 3 for 2 stock split is like a 50% stock dividend. How about a 4 for 3? Well, same deal. You can see the mathematic or the arithmetic over here. 33 1/3%. So a 4 for 3 stock split is like a 33 1/3% stock dividend. 5 for 4 stock split's a 25% stock dividend. A 6 for 5 stock split is like a 20% stock dividend. How about a 10 for 1 stock split? It's like a 900% stock dividend. 10 minus 1 over 1 equals 9 over 1. 9 decimal. Oops. Sorry. That equals 9. And 9 decimal is 900%. What about reverse splits? A reverse split is where you actually are reducing the number of outstanding shares, okay? Firms often do that when their stock price gets very low due to certain listing requirements by exchanges like the NYSE that for some reason don't like to have stock prices below $1 for too many days in a row. So when firms get down there, they sometimes do a reverse split. So an example of a reverse split would be a 1 for 10. For every 10 shares you used to have, you now have 1. So we'll see in a moment how that's going to make stock price rise. But right now we're not talking about stock price. We're just noting that a 1 for 10 stock split is equivalent to a minus 90% stock dividend. Okay? Now, of course, stock splits cannot create wealth. Here's the easiest way to prove that this is a true statement. If they did create wealth, if stock splits did create wealth, then financial managers would be executing stock splits all day long. Case closed. So if stock splits could create wealth, which they can't, but if they could, that would be as ridiculous as the following. So here is a pizza. And if I said to you, hey, here's my pizza, when I'm just average hungry, I cut it into 8 pieces, but when I'm really hungry, I cut it into 16 pieces. Now, of course, that's ridiculous. This just shows you, if you think about it, that you can't create wealth you can't create more of something by cutting it into smaller pieces. You can't create more value for a firm by cutting its ownership slices in half. or in thirds, whatever. Okay, now let's just make some observations here. Note that the first price, which is the pre-split price, times the pre-split quantity, will equal some market value. Maybe you have a pre-split price of $20 and you have 100 shares. Your market value is $2,000. And the point here is that whatever the price is, after the split, P2, when you multiply it by the number of shares, has to equal the same market value. This equals this. Okay? It has to be the same. Nothing, let me make that a little bit neater. It has to be the same. Nothing else would make sense. Okay? That market value here equals this market value here. This is here equals this here. All right. So, and, just applying this for a 2-for-1 stock split, P1 times Q1 equals market value. There's a new price, P2 times Q2, that has to equal the same market value. Okay? And then the idea is Q2 can be described as, so here's Q2, and Q2 can be described as Q1 times 2, right? So P1 times Q1 equaled market value, okay? New price P2 times new quantity Q2 has to equal the same market value. These are the same. They are equal. The new quantity Q2 is equal to Q1 times 2 for a 2-for-1 split. And so the question is, the new price P2 has to be P1 times what? Well, if you look at it, since the market values have to be the same, then it's obviously I'm just going to have to take the inverse of this. Okay, just got to take the inverse of that. Okay, so the inverse of 2/1 is 1/2. So you can see that if I multiply P1 by 1/2 and Q1 by 2, these terms here will cancel, right? And I'll be left with P1 times Q1 equals market value. Couldn't be any more simple than that, okay? And so in this case, the question mark is 1/2. P2 is 1/2 of P1, okay? Well, let's now consider something else. What is the expected percentage change in stock price? The expected percentage change in stock price associated with a given stock split or a given stock dividend, okay? And the answer is, it's just this value right here, that question mark, minus 1, okay? The example we just saw where we had a 2-for-1 stock split, that number right there became 1/2. And so 1/2 minus 1 equaled negative 0.5, which is minus 50%. And so the expected percentage change in stock price associated with the 2-for-1 stock split is minus 50%. In other words, stock price has to get cut in half. Okay, stock price has to get cut in half for it to work. For example, you could have, maybe you started off, what did I say, 20 shares, $20 a share, 100 shares. But if you have 200 shares, then that can only be priced at $10 because both of these equal $2,000, right? Okay, so the value for the question mark is just the inverse. It's just the inverse of the ratio of new shares to old shares. It's just the inverse of that. As we saw here, the ratio of new shares to old shares, 200 to 100, 2-to-1. And so the question mark is just the inverse of that, which is 1.5. Okay, hold on 1 second. I have to get this thing open again. There we go. Sorry, I have to scroll back to where I was. My apologies. There we go. Sorry about that. A few people are as clumsy as I am with these devices. Okay, let me just see where I was. Okay. So in the prior example, we saw that the question mark, which is, question mark minus 1 is going to give us the expected percentage change in stock price. So the question mark minus 1 is what gives us that, and the question mark is just the inverse of the ratio of new shares to old shares. They had been, in the last example, 2 to 1, so the question mark becomes 1/2. 1/2 minus 1 is minus 50%. So question, what is the expected percentage change in stock price associated with a 3-for-2 stock split? Well, again, the answer is it's just the inverse of the ratio of new shares to old shares. Well, 3-for-2, the inverse is 2/3, so there's the 2/3, that's the question mark from above. Minus 1 is equal to minus 1/3 is equal to negative 0.3333, which is minus 33.33%. So this means that the expected percentage change in stock price associated with the 3-for-2 stock split is negative 33.33%. So we just assume now that we have a $60 pre-split stock price. Initially, P1 times Q1 equaled the market value, so 60 times 100 equals 6,000, and now we need a new price that, when we multiply it by the new quantity of shares, still equals the same 6,000. That has to be true. Stock splits can't create wealth, of course not. And so here, the new 3-for-2 stock split, if you started with 100 shares, then 3-for-2 means you're going to have 150. And so some price, P2 times 150, has to equal 6,000. Therefore, it must be $40. Okay? Well, if the original $60 price falls by 33.33%, of course, it's going to be $40. That's just showing you that this works. The $60 pre-split price falls by 33.33% to $40 because of the 3-for-2 stock split. Okay? So here I have just some, here's the split, the X for Y, and then the expected percentage change in stock price. This is the one that we just did. And then I suggest that you try a 4-for-3. There's the answer. 10-for-1, there's the answer. A 1-for-10 reverse split, there's the answer. And practice those if you wish. And so it's just important to be comfortable bouncing back and forth between terminology such as stock split and stock dividend, and also to be able to rather quickly be able to determine the expected percentage change in stock price associated with a given stock split. And that's all I have for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.